Hi, my name is Rian Fareed and I'm coming all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. I hope that you enjoy this course with me as I take you through and guide you through my understanding of the perspective that I teach, called Aiming for Failure. Before we get stuck in, let me just unpack briefly what I mean by the word perspective. I'm not here to teach you that you've been wrong or that you've been right, or it's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in doing is create a way of thinking and sharing that way of thinking that you can apply to your decision making, what motivates you, how you think about problem solving, innovation, creativity, and what it is that is blocking you from feeling present and feeling collaborative with the people that you spend time with. So aiming for failure, it kind of sounds like the thing that you wouldn't want to be doing. You don't want to be failing. I think that what I'm trying to communicate with the title of this course is much less about the interest that we have in actually failing or wanting to fail than it is about what happens when failure becomes an option. What happens when we reevaluate our understanding of what winning culture really means in this very competitive environment that we are constantly living in, where we are constantly being asked to give our attention and our time in the same way that everything is being expected of us. So the idea of aiming for failure is really more about the antithesis or the opposite of the general way in which we work or way in which we operate, which is, I want to be the best at what I possibly can be, right? I need to get that thing or else I've lost. And I think that the environment that that creates, if we aren't thoughtful about it, is actually not in our best interest. So the journey that I'm interested in taking you on in understanding and discovering this perspective of aiming for failure is about really understanding your motivation as well as your direction. Because we all kind of have a default setting. We have a way in which we feel is the right way to operate because that's how we've been taught by the people who influence us, our parents, our friends, the people who we look up to. And that educates us around what is right and wrong. But if we aren't aware of those decisions, if we are making them without questioning them, we aren't really in control of that decision making, are we? So the opposite of what everybody wants, everyone wants to be winning, everyone wants that thing. By changing the perspective, we can evaluate it. So many people speak to me about the pressures and sense of competition that they feel in their life. And that's something that they feel like they've got absolutely no control over because that is how life is supposed to be, because we are constantly being analyzed. We are constantly being put against each other to see who's best. And we feel in competition with everyone for status, for power, for money, for happiness. We are constantly comparing ourselves. And what I'm hoping to achieve with introducing the idea of aiming for failure into your life is that you can start re-evaluating the principles upon which this winning culture is really based on, so that you can decide whether or not you buy into it. Winning is almost like a fairy tale princess story because we all want to be the prince or the princess, or no one wants to be the frog or the dwarf or whatever. It depends on the fairy tales you're into. No one really thinks about what it means, though. We don't think about the reality of being the prince. We only think about the fantasy, and that's what excites us. What if we could be, right? Things would be so amazing if. However, winning is entirely the same. We are so enamored and excited and enthusiastic about our vision of us winning that it is almost not believable to us and to a lot of people who we might share that with. I'm not saying don't have vision. What I'm saying is that there is an incredible difference between understanding what winning really means and our idea of what winning is. Because a lot of the time, our idea of what winning is isn't winning itself. It is what will happen if we don't win. That's the kicker. And that's what we don't talk about. So what don't we see? What don't we take into consideration when we think about this thing that we all seem to want, which is to win? One of the things is that when you've got one defining goal, let's look at a sports star, right? Someone who is an athlete, someone who has been working since the age of 6 to one day be an Olympic gold medalist. They are standing on the podium for the very first time, maybe the last time, most likely the last time, and they've won. Yes, they're happy, but in the last 5 minutes, and it will be replaced with a sense of this goal was such a large part of my identity. This goal has been such a huge part of my life that actually, maybe I don't even know who I am without this goal. Maybe I don't know what to do without this goal. Having a singular goal, having a singular challenge, it gets in the way of the expectation that everything will be happy after. Because we think that when we achieve that one particular goal, that the gates of heaven will open and it will be happiness everlasting. And what we find is that that's simply just not the case. If you were to go and look at top performers across many different industries, what you find is that once they reach the pinnacle that they've sacrificed and strived towards for decades, they are left with actually a sense of hollowness, a sense of loss, because they don't know what's next, don't know what to do, don't know who to call, don't know where to go, and no longer knows what drives them. Because they've got it, right? They've achieved it. They're the winner, right? But now what? We all know that this idea of winning doesn't work. It doesn't make us happy. Why? Because it has been shown to us over and over and over again. But we don't look at it critically. How many top professionals do you know who are actually genuinely thrilled about life, about options and potential and opportunities and the wondrous exploration of discovering life? I don't know one. I know guys who work for 20 hours a day. I know guys who have lost their family. I know guys who value their cars more than their friendships. Top of their game. Winners. We need to start looking at these things critically. We need to start acknowledging that the system simply is not built in our favor. And that if we continue expecting happiness from this overexertion, this winning mentality at all costs, what are we sacrificing in the process? When we start looking at the ideas behind why we are so focused on success at all cost, winning no matter what, we get to start looking at the parts that we sacrifice along the way, and the challenges that we don't accept because we are only focused on one challenge, which we feel we need to win at. I don't think that someone who doesn't win is a loser. I don't think that someone who fails is a loser. I think that someone who fails simply gets to try again. So what happens when we start changing these definitions? What happens when we change our thinking around what it is that we really want? Failure is a natural part of being human. To not accept it as an option is the equivalent of walking around with only one leg, because we can't accept that we have the other one. It's unnatural to presume that failure isn't an option, yet we all do it. We can't think about it. What happens when that changes? And we just face facts and see it as a natural part of how we develop and learn.